I'm Rishmi, a second year undergraduate student from CSC. So the now topic which we are going to see in this video is constructor chaining in Java. Let us start. Let me first tell the definition of constructor chaining. Constructor chaining is a process of calling one constructor from other constructor. That is, we'll be having, for suppose, two constructors, and the first constructor will be called by using the second constructor. So this is constructor chaining. Why do we need constructor chaining? When we want to perform multiple tasks in a single constructor, rather than creating a code for separate tasks, we can just create different constructors and chain them to make the program more readable. So that is why we use constructor chaining. Now let us see how can constructor chaining be done. Constructor chaining can be done in two ways. The first way is within the same class. Inside the same class, we can call another constructor by using the keyword this. That is the first method. And the second method is from the base class. That is, we'll be having parent class and the child class. And we'll be calling the parent class constructor by using the keyword by using the super method. That is the two ways for constructor chaining. Let us see the rules for constructor chaining within the same class. The keyword this method should be the first line of the constructor. That's the first rule. And the second rule is there should be at least one constructor with this keyword. And the third rule is constructor chaining can be achieved in any order. That is, we can call constructors in any order. That is our choice. These are the rules for constructor chaining within the same class. Now let's see the rules for constructor chaining from the base class. As the first rule in constructor chaining from the same classes, the first line should be this keyword. Here the first line should be super method. And the second rule is constructor chaining can be done in any order. That doesn't matter. Those are both the rules for constructor chaining. And now let's see the benefits of constructor chaining. By using constructor chaining, code readability will be enhanced. That is, we can read the code very easily. We can perform different tasks by using different constructors rather than creating a separate code for each task. That enhances the readability of code. And we can reuse the particular part of a code. That is one of the benefit. And we can efficiently initialize the objects. That is, we can initialize the object with different constructors with different parameters. See an example over here. There is a constructor temp with no parameters and with one parameter x and with two parameters x and y. In the default constructor temp, that is with no parameters, we are passing uh, this keyword with a parameter temp. That means it calls a constructor with one parameter. That is, it calls temp int x. Here in this constructor, we have the first line as this 1020. That is, it calls a constructor with two parameters, x and y. In this constructor temp int x and int y, we are printing x plus y. So that is how this example works. First, in the constructor temp, it is calling temp int x, and in constructor temp with parameter x, it is calling the constructor with parameters x and y. So we will be getting the first line as x plus y, and the second line as value of x, and the third line as default constructor. That's constructor chaining. Let's see a real-time scenario where constructor chaining can be implemented. Let's suppose we are constructing a house and there will be different constructors for building different parts of the house. The foundation team is responsible for the basement in the initialization of house, and the wall building team is responsible for adding additional features, that is adding walls to the foundation, and the roof team is responsible for uh, finalizing the house. So we are adding upon things one on other. That is constructor chaining. Each team, that is constructor, each constructor builds upon the work that is previously done. This uh, is easier way to reuse a part of the code. That is why we use constructor chaining. Now let us write a Java code for this. Let us write both the codes for constructor chaining within the same class and constructor chaining from the base class. First, let me write for code for constructor chaining within the same class. Let me open Notepad. Chaining within the class. Chain class for Java. Okay, close it. Notepad. Chaining Java. Let me declare a class, public class, public class. Let me give a random name, student. And in this, I'm calling a constructor student. In the constructor, let us call another constructor with one parameter. Let us that is done by using this. And let us suppose we are giving an integer for the next parameter. Let me give a random integer 5. Now in this, I'll print a line default construct. Let me close this default constructor and open another constructor with one parameter and x. In this constructor, let me call another constructor which accepts two parameters. This one accepts one parameter and the next one would be accepting more than one parameter. This 5, comma 15. And let me print the line. This is equal to plus x. This is gonna display x as 5. Because we are calling this constructor with parameter x by using the keyword this and parameter 5. That will be calling x as 5. Let's close this and create one more constructor that takes two parameters, int x, int y. What? Let us add both of them. X plus y equal. These are three constructors: default constructor, constructor with one parameter, constructor with three parameters. Now let us type a main block. Let me create an object for student class. Then obj is equal to new student, and this will be calling the default constructor. Most of this. Then let me make another class. Class with the name chaining C. This, let us save and run chaining C. Chaining C. Mm, Sorry. Okay. I have missed a symbol plus here. Class. Okay. Let's run it. First line which we are getting is x plus y is equal to 20, and the second line is x is equal to 5, and the third line is default constructor. That is, let us compare it with the word. Here we are first calling a default constructor. In the default constructor, it is calling a constructor with one parameter, that is student int x. And in this, it is calling a constructor with two parameters, int x and int y. Here we don't have any further constructor, so it is directly printing this line x plus y, that is 5 plus 15. So we are getting x plus y is equal to 20. And then here in one parameter is constructor, we are printing x value, x is equal to 5. And then in the default constructor, we are printing default constructor line, that prints the default constructor line. So this is that was constructor chaining within the same class. Now let us see a code for constructor chaining in the base class. Chaining base. Let me create a parent class. In this, there's a default constructor. And the default constructor, let me print a line. Default. There's another constructor with one parameter, I. We this here I'm printing parameter I construct of unit. and print the value of height. That's the parameterized constructor of parent class. Let me close the parent class and open the child class. And constructor of child default constructor. In the default constructor, we will be using super method and call a parameterized constructor with a parameter 4 and print the lines in the default constructor of child class. Child, let me write it as default parent. Close this constructor and write a public class with chaining and there will be a main method. Inside the main method, we create an object for child class. Its object name as obj, new child plus here plus the child class plus here plus the execution will be starting from the main block. In the main block, we are declaring uh, an object obj and that calls a default constructor in the child class. In the default constructor, we are calling a parameterized constructor of the parent class that will be calling parent in I. And in the parent class with a parameter, it calls a default constructor without a parameter. So first we will be getting default parameter as outputs. Then we'll be getting I value. Then we will be getting default child. Let us save and compile this in the command prompt. So data. So after I will mention this in strings. And also this is static. Support for holding string strings. So it can resolve the error. First line is default parent. Parameter is constructor of parent. I is equal to 4 and default child. That's the output. This is about constructor chaining. Thank you.